Now, what do I mean by old versus new trend? So let's take an example of someone who calls himself the stock market scientist, who sent me this DM with a stock from his own local market, this is not the US market, um, asking me if this would be a valid setup. So he says, do you like this shed setup? Earnings gap plus moved on higher volume and now getting tighter on key moving average. Okay, so it did have an earnings gap, but would I be interested in this stock at this point is the question. The criteria that I'm going to use now is a very simple rule. Don't buy a stock after it has already made 3 legs up. So why is this? Because in this case, it's usually overextended and the probability of a 4th leg is very low. So let's take a closer look at the chart that he sent us. This was the earnings gap that I believe he was referring to. Now, this would not even show up on my scanner because I don't think it's done more than twice the daily range, or probably it has. Yeah, it would show up. And the volume is definitely high. So even if I added this to my watch list here, it's made 1 leg up, comes back down, makes a 2nd leg up, comes back down, makes a 3rd leg up, comes way back down, and now is trying to make a 4th leg up. I don't like taking stocks that have already made 3 legs up because the probability of this 4th leg is much lower. And the 5th leg is even lower than that, and the 6th leg is much, much, much lower. So with every consecutive leg that it makes up, the odds are going to be falling against you. So personally, after 3 legs up, this is where I would remove this from my earnings winner watch list and definitely not be looking to trade a breakout in this at this point. Let's look at a few examples from our own US market on what this looks like when trading earnings winners or scanning for earnings winners. So TMDX, it's a popular stock among all breakout traders. And yesterday it showed up on my scanner because again, it had made a 2 ADR move on more than twice the average volume. Now, look at how extended this stock is. Does this look like an old trend or a new trend to you? It's made 1 leg up, it makes another gap on earnings, another leg up, another gap on earnings, another leg up, another gap on earnings, goes sideways pretty much, another gap on earnings. And look at my notes here from the previous time that it showed up on my scanner. I've written old trend, 4th EP, and it did beat, and that means it beat the earnings. This is the 5th time it's gapping up on earnings. Do you think I'm going to add this to my earnings winners list? No, I'm not, because this is clearly an old trend, and I don't like trading old trends, simply because the probability of them making a 5th leg up is much lower. If you think about this logically, a lot of good news is already priced into the stock. There's no surprise, there's no neglect, and a lot of people have already been accumulating this stock. So a lot of buyers are done buying this and would now be looking to take profits on this. So the boat tilts more towards sellers. The more we keep going up, and more profit takers come in, and fewer buyers are still left to buy. So that is the logic behind why an old trend has a much lower probability of actually working out. Let's look at another example. This is another stock that popped up on the scanner. And in this case, you can see it's a really fresh new IPO, just a few days old. Huge gap, huge range expansion, huge volume. This little white box actually means that the volume has been truncated. And I have set my volume settings such that if a stock makes more than 5 times the average volume, then rather than showing me the whole bar, it just truncates or shortens the bar and puts a white box above it. And that is done so that the scale of the volume is not completely thrown off by one big bar, which might be an anomaly. And for my purposes, this gives me all the information I need to know. It's telling me that the volume was more than 5 times the average, or in layman's terms, really, really big. So is this an old trend or a new trend? Well, clearly this is the start of a new trend. If this stock is going to enter a new uptrend, then this is day one of a new uptrend, right? So this is a stock that meets my criteria 100% and is the ideal type of stock that you want to look for if you're finding earnings winners. Something that has been in a long neglect and has just started a new fresh uptrend. And so it has a long way to go, a lot of buyers still left to buy, no one really sitting on profits looking to book profits or sell into this. All the stars align on something like this.